Hello everyone and welcome to Friday. It has been a journey, but tonight we finally finished watching Dragon Ball Season 5. So this is going to be our Dragon Ball Season 5 review. But not just that, it's also going to be our Dragon Ball review, because this is the end of the series. There's 150-ish episodes to Dragon Ball, and we have now finished them all. So we're going to kind of be giving a recap of the entire story and what we thought of, you know, the anime as a whole. And also at the end of the video we'll be talking a little bit about what's coming next for us, and how why we have chosen to watch Dragon Ball Z instead of Dragon Ball Kai. So stick around. As usual, this video will contain spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled about Dragon Ball, don't watch this, because we're going to be talking not only about Season 5, but like the whole thing. So first off, Season 5, gut reaction for how good it was in comparison to other seasons.
It was alright.
Okay, let me reword that. Gut reaction for how it compared to other seasons if you ignore the last 6 episodes.
Good.
Yeah, so this is, I think, the only DVD set where an entire saga is in one season set, because Dragon Ball is made up of 9 sagas, and Funimation has released them in 5 DVD sets, so it's kind of all over the place. And there's quite a few other DVD sets where the season set like drops you off in the middle of a saga, like it finishes up and you're in the middle of something and you're like, oh, I guess I have to buy that next one. But the final one is actually kind of a complete story. It picks up right when Piccolo has been defeated, and like it starts with Goku traveling with Yajirobe to Korn's Tower, and then he gets to Korn's Tower and he gets to learn about Kami, which is super, super neat, because I have been waiting the entire series to figure out when Kami comes into play. And I knew Kami was up there. I knew he lived above Korn's Tower. I knew, and I'm not really sure how I knew, but I knew that you needed the power pole to get up there. And I knew that Kami and Piccolo were one. So this was like a lot of information that I was waiting on, like, when's it going to happen? And I thought we were going to meet Kami when we first saw Korn. I was like, well, maybe they're, you know, he's going to send him up there, but it was much later. So I'm assuming for you it must have been pretty weird to see that Kami was Piccolo.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty wacky. You're getting a completely different experience, because since I grew up watching Z, it was just knowledge. It was common knowledge, and like Piccolo is in Z, which you obviously know, pop culture, and like you don't really understand that he is as bad of a dude as he was unless you've seen Dragon Ball. In Dragon Ball, he's like he's trying to take over the world and he's killing everyone and stuff. And like at the tournament and stuff, he's like gonna kill Goku and wants to kill everybody. So like you don't really get that. So you're kind of getting a better overall picture than I ever did, because I was just like, okay, so him and Kami were joined. All right, so whatever. But yeah, as far as like the actual stuff that happens in the Piccolo Jr. saga,
Goku is his training.
Yeah.
Once he gets up there.
And then 3 years pass. I did this because I was doing 3. 3 years pass, and then he shows up, and that's when we get adult everyone. You know, adult Goku and adult Krillin, and that's really it. No one else changes in any way whatsoever. Bulma wears lipstick now or something, and that's it.
Yamcha got his scars.
Yeah, I was waiting on them to explain that, because I always remembered Yamcha with the scars from Z, and I'm like, okay, because when we started, like, he didn't have the scars. I'm like, finally, I'm going to be able to find out where he got their scars. Never explained. He just shows up 3 years later, and he has scars, and I'm like, okay, alright. Don't ever explain that. But yeah, they do the training, then they do the tournament, and unlike some of the other tournaments, in this tournament you knew
what the final was going to be.
Yeah, and you kind of knew what the lineup for the other people were probably going to be too.
Yeah.
You just knew off the bat that it had to end with Goku and Piccolo fighting. Took a few episodes to get through, but I think the fight was pretty well paced, and there wasn't really...
It was a little...
Yeah, and the series is really preparing you for what Z will entail, I guess. But like Dragon Ball has evolved so much in the 5 seasons because it starts as like, you know, and
Let's go find Dragon Balls.
and like the flashbacks. It feels like you've been watching the show for forever because it's like, oh man, Goku was a child, you know, he was just going on this wacky adventure, and it's all been so gradual that, you know, now them doing the like, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you think back, it's like, wait, that was not a thing, you know, it was all fun and dandy or whatnot. Anyway, Goku has his training. He does the tournament. He obviously defeats Piccolo. And then he gives Piccolo a senzu bean right at the end.
Yeah.
Which is very notable because that's kind of a reflection of his character. And then the tournament ends, and I was like, why are there 6 episodes left? What is there left to explain? Because remember, I've seen Z, and I know how Z starts, and I'm thinking, what could we possibly need to cover in 6 episodes? And I'm like, well, I guess maybe some of it's filler. All of it's filler.
All of it's filler.
Oh my god. And it's not just filler, it's probably some of the worst filler I've seen in the entire Dragon Ball series. Because in Z, stuff gets stretched out, no doubt. But whenever they have to come up with filler, I mean, I always felt that the filler was at least, you know, pretty passable, pretty good. And the last 6 episodes of Dragon Ball are not very good. It's all about getting married.
Yes.
Goku and Chi-Chi are like, well, we're gonna get married, and the Ox King is like, you have to wear this dress, and then suddenly everything explodes with fire, and he's like, you have to get the Bancho fan, and then they spend several episodes trying to figure out where the heck that is,
And they get it.
No, what? Well, then it's like, we have to go meet the Fire Eater to make a new one.
And then it turns out that doesn't work.
Yeah, and then the scientist guy who's just randomly there has been studying the birds for 40 years
And
or
he's
something.
like, no, you need to go to that mountain.
Oh my god.
And they go to the mountain, and there's this old woman.
I mean, the only advantage to the filler, that last 6 episodes being that bad, is that it was almost like a humorous thing for Mal and I. It was like, how much crazier and more stupid can it get? And they just kept piling it on. And then what was really weird is in the last 2 episodes, Goku, like, his personality changed completely. Like, he's always been, you know, fun-loving, whatever.
Well, in the entire 6 episodes, he felt like chalk.
Yes.
He was
Yeah,
just
he
there.
did.
And he was like, okay, Chi-Chi, let's go, Chi-Chi. And then the last 2 episodes, he was kind of like really rude and pushy.
Yeah, he got mean and violent, and like he threw Gohan back, like, get away from me. I'm like, what the heck is happening? And then suddenly it's like, and then they got married, and I'm thinking this entire thing was filler, which seems weird to me because I feel like having Chi-Chi, his wife, meet his grandpa is
Would've
kind
been
of
cool.
Well, it's also kind of a major plot thing that's, I guess, not in the manga. But in the anime, that seems like a thing that Toriyama would not have been okay with. Would have been like, whoa, no, she did not meet him, you know, that kind of thing. So it seems odd to me. But yeah, anyone who is making their way through Dragon Ball watching the show, once the tournament's over, feel free to just stop and just pretend the other 6 episodes don't exist, because they are not good.
I think I made the comment somewhere that was like, man, it seems like the bosses went on vacation and we're like, alright, well, B-Team animators, we need 6 episodes. They're the finale too, so, you know, have fun. And they had fun.
It's really not good. Okay, so looking back on the entirety of Dragon Ball, what was your least favorite part?
Red Ribbon Army with Muscle Tower.
Muscle Tower. Even over the 6 episodes at the end?
Those were pretty bad. I was not fond of where they go, and they're like, this is Toriyama's other series.
Oh, yeah, with Arale or
Aurelia.
Arale or something.
Rayleigh.
I think. Yeah,
That was
Penguin
rough.
Village.
That was rough.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, but it was like
It was better
just
than
gag me, you
the
know?
last 6 episodes.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide which one I disliked more, Muscle Tower or the last 6 episodes. But, like, Muscle Tower was just really drawn out. And at least the last 6 episodes, like, they were going different places, but I don't know, they were both bad. What do you think is your favorite moment of Dragon Ball? If you have a favorite moment.
I kind of liked everything from the beginning to, like, the end of the first tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the strongest part of Dragon Ball is meeting all of the characters, because there's a lot of characters that you meet all at once. Him meeting Master Roshi, doing the training, and then going into the tournament, and then having him be Jackie Chan, and then the one thing he said always stuck out, like, he had to make sure that he beat Goku, because if Goku was the winner, he would feel like there was no reason to keep training, and he didn't want that to happen. So yeah, that I agree. I completely agree. I think that first part of Dragon Ball is the strongest by far. The first 10 episodes are good, and I said that in a few other videos, but if anyone's looking to get into Dragon Ball, first off, you probably shouldn't be watching this because we're talking about all sorts of spoilers. But if you are, the first 10 episodes are a really great place to start, because that covers the whole thing.
Korin's my favorite character.
Korin's a great character. Yajirobe is a great character.
I like Bulma's mom.
Oh yeah. I like her dad.
They're so ridiculous.
They are in Z a lot more than they are in Dragon Ball.
Good.
Fortunately, I think they're probably not in the manga. All the stuff that they're in for Z feels very fillery, but whatever. They're really great characters.
I'm not fond of Poir, but it's just the voice. It's only the voice.
There's a lot less of Poir in Z too.
It's too high pitched. I can't understand it.
One of the things I'm excited for moving into Z is the fact that now that I've seen Dragon Ball, all the characters just mean more, because in Z it's just, here's all these guys that you're supposed to know, and I thought that, you know, when I was younger, I didn't know that there was a Dragon Ball. I didn't know there was a thing before Z, so I just thought, oh, it's a really interesting way to start the show. Here, you should know these 20 people. So it's going to be nice to, you know, whenever you see Tien, know that, you know, he was evil, and he had trained under the Crane Hermit, and all this stuff that you don't get if you just watch Z. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about why we chose to watch Dragon Ball Z instead of Dragon Ball Kai, because in some of these past videos that we've made, we've asked you guys to give input, and we've read the comments on the videos that we have out. We know we're behind a vlog, so not all of them are out, but we've looked at them, and we've kind of talked amongst ourselves about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to see, and we ultimately chose Dragon Ball Z instead of Dragon Ball Kai. There's a few, I'll quickly outline the differences for those who aren't completely aware. Right now, the easiest way to buy these shows is on the Blu-rays. There's Dragon Ball Z Blu-rays, and there's Dragon Ball Kai Blu-rays. There's a lot of people that prefer Kai because it is in full frame. They show you everything that there is to show. Whenever you watch it on a widescreen television, you got big black bars on the side, but that's how the show was made. On the Dragon Ball Z side, for the Blu-rays, it's pan and scan. So what they're doing is they're zooming it in and they're moving it around as necessary. From the reviews that I've read, that's not a huge issue, but some people are, you know, super purists, and I understand that. They want to see exactly how it was. What's weird is that there have been past releases on DVD for Dragon Ball Z where they were full frame, but they have decided not to keep doing that. It's actually been really wacky in terms of everything they've done. There's been some people complaining that Dragon Ball Kai is not completely uncut, and that's not true. I think there's been confusion because Dragon Ball Kai is shown on Nickelodeon now, and it's obviously there's some stuff censored in that, so people have assumed that just Dragon Ball Kai is not uncut, but that's not true. Basically, Dragon Ball Kai, I should have explained this right at the beginning. Dragon Ball Kai is the version of Dragon Ball Z that is true to the manga. It cuts out all of the filler. So Dragon Ball Z is like 300 episodes, and Dragon Ball Kai, I think, is like 160 or something like that. So basically, there is basically half of Dragon Ball Z is completely filler, which sounds like a lot of filler. Some of it's filler, some of it's just things being stretched, and some people would say you'd have to be, completely insane not to just choose Dragon Ball Kai. The reason we went with Z, ultimately, is that I was reading up on what was filler and what was not. And there's some obvious things. Everyone always cites, if you don't watch Z, you're not going to get to see Piccolo learn how to drive. Which, funny stuff like that, true. That also goes into the plot. But there was some other stuff. And I don't want to talk too much about it because Mao hasn't seen Z yet. But, there was
Don't spoil it for me.
I'm not going to. But there was some stuff that I didn't know was filler. And when I was reading it, I was like, well, I always remember that being a really important thing. Or I remember because they fleshed this out as much as they did, it created a more emotional attachment. So, that combined with the fact that when I talked to Mal about it, she said, I think I'd really like to experience Z how you experienced it and how people talk about it, because Dragon Ball Z is probably one of the most well-known animes of all time. And people praise it, but they also rag on it. And I think you wanted to experience kind of the reason that people rag on it. Whenever people talk about how, people scream at each other for 5 episodes straight. That happens. That does actually happen. And if we watch Z, you'll also be able to experience that. The final reason, and probably the most important one, is that I have never actually seen everything in Z. In the last 2 sagas, I think, I'm missing a good chunk of some stuff. I know the events, but there's episodes I just haven't seen. And if we watch Kai, I will just have never seen those episodes. So, and if you watch Z, you get the complete picture. Now, what that means for us, based on how long it took us to watch Dragon Ball, is that it will take us about a year at our current rate.
You think so?
To watch Dragon Ball Z. Now, that's not factoring in summer, though.
Yeah.
If we're not traveling this summer, we'll probably wrap up Z in the summer easy, but that's where we are. So yeah, that's our Dragon Ball adventure. That's our review for season 5, our synopsis of the entirety of Dragon Ball, and why we chose to do Dragon Ball Z over Kai. Now, if someone is completely new to the series, first off, start on Dragon Ball, because it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed watching it, and as someone who has seen pretty much all of Z, you're going to get so much more out of Z, I think, by watching Dragon Ball first. Not to mention, I think Dragon Ball's probably a better show. Although that said, I think that Dragon Ball Z is going to, feel fuller and feel like it makes more sense, and there's a more emotional investment in the specific characters having watched Dragon Ball. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add?
No.
You in any way disappointed that we're not watching Kai?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Can't believe I was scared of that pig.
What was it that Gohan said in the last episode, where he said something like, "Why, I should be. I'm dead."
Yeah.
What did Goku say?
Goku said, you haven't changed much.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was some really good one-liners throughout all of Dragon Ball, but that one was one of my favorites right at the end. Oh, Grandpa, you haven't changed. I shouldn't. I'm dead. There's some good stuff. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. It's been a really fun few months. I don't normally watch television shows, but it's been fun to actually, get
Sit through this?
Yeah. Have a show that I can look forward to, and something that's really long, because that you're on this crazy adventure, and it has been really enjoyable, and I've really liked it. For today, you guys can talk about your favorite thing in Dragon Ball. Once again, don't want to talk too much about Z because we're getting ready to watch it, and she hasn't seen it, and she reads the comments too. So talk about anything from Dragon Ball, any of your favorite moments, least favorite moments. Things that maybe filler that you wish that they would have changed, or maybe your favorite filler from Dragon Ball, because there's a pretty good bit. There's a pretty good bit. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?